You look at some of the interest rates as of late, it's pretty amazing what's available out there, and you need to have the information to make the right decisions. There's a lot of great communities out there who are looking at all of this for you, and the experts are in the right place to get you the information you need. And one of those experts joining us now, John Fiddler. He's the Assistant Vice President of Mortgage Lending at Heartland Credit Union. John, thanks for taking time with us here on the WMAY Morning News Feed.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me, Greg. I'm looking forward to it.
So let's go ahead and get into the difference of a credit union and a bank. There are some substantial differences that people might not know about.
Yeah, that's great. Most banks are owned by just a limited number of people who own stock in the bank. And so the purpose of a bank is return a profit back to those who own stock in the bank. On the other hand, a credit union is a not-for-profit financial cooperative. Everybody who has a savings account in a credit union, really in a credit union, savings accounts are called share accounts. Basically, they own shares in the credit union. And so hence, that's why Heartland Credit Union's motto is bank like you own the place, because if you have a savings account with us, technically you're an owner of the credit union. And so because we're a not-for-profit financial cooperative, what would normally be considered profits are returned to the members of the credit union in the form of lower interest rates on consumer loans and slightly better rates on interest on savings accounts, especially certificates of deposit. And so it's very member focused. The motto or mantra of credit unions is people helping people. And so you get, well, I feel it's much better customer, what we call member service with a credit union than you do when dealing with a large national bank.
So something to consider for those out there who are younger, maybe looking to establish an account somewhere, or maybe those who are, getting married, getting ready to have kids. They want a new house. Maybe they have a traditional loan from one institution, but they're looking at their options. A credit union's a great way to do that. Heartland Credit Union's Assistant Vice President for Mortgage Lending joining us, John Fiddler, here on the WMAY Morning News Feed. So let's get into those interest rates. And of course, we've seen interest rates in the past approach double digits, if not higher. We're in a totally different era right now, and money's actually pretty cheap to come by. Tell us where we're at with interest rates.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Yeah, we're at all-time historic lows in mortgage lending. The rates got down to last fall about 1.875 on a 15-year fix, and you could get a 2.375 on a 30-year. They jumped up in the last couple of weeks. They hit up around 3% on the 30-year, but it's edged back down to about 2.75, 2.875 in that range. And the 15-year has creeped up to about 2.125%, but still great rates. I tell people I've been doing this for 34 years. When I bought my first house in 1989, I took a 3-year adjustable at 9.375% because a 30-year fix that time was 11%. So these are fantastic rates. And people, because the rates are so low, people can afford to buy much more house than they could previously.
And it's not just buying the house, it's also the refinancing is available as well. Is this a time for people to look at their ongoing mortgages and their other loans that they may have and say, you know what, let's take advantage of these low interest rates and refinance?
Oh, yeah. We've been swamped with refinancing. It's great. They used to say years ago that you need to have a 2% drop to justify it. Well, that's back when your average mortgage loan balance was like 40, 50,000. If you've got a loan balance over 100,000, a drop of 0.5% may justify the closing costs to refinance. So we've been very busy. Anybody that's above a 4%, you really need to look at refinancing your mortgage loan now.
People may be inundated with all kinds of advertisements. They're looking at the latest news, and there's a banner ad for this national lending house versus that national lending house, and some, little levers or things that might move and switch around, and then they'll be taken to a website to be shown the latest, greatest interest rates. What are some of the pitfalls they need to avoid in looking at some of those national lenders and those national mortgage operations versus what you can find right here in our backyard with local community banks?
Yeah, that's a great question. A couple of things. Number one, if you deal with either a local credit union or a local community bank, most likely they're going to service your loan locally, which means, you make your payments here in town. I tell people a great advantage for us is if you've got a problem on your loan, you come into my office and you talk to me. You don't have to call the 800 number and get bounced around a half dozen times and be on hold for 20 minutes trying to figure out. But the other advantage is what we found is the online lenders may offer you what's a really good rate, but they have a lot of hidden fees in there, and you may end up paying considerably more in closing costs going through this online or national lender than you would if you dealt with your local community bank or credit union.
And that's real money. I mean, it's closing costs, of course, can be wrapped into the overall payments, and you can pay it off over the years of the loan, but that all adds up. So it might be something for people to consider to shop around, and especially consider some of those local institutions. John Fiddler is the Assistant Vice President for Mortgage Lending at Heartland Credit Union here on the WMAY Morning News Feed. So, John, if people want to get more information about Heartland Credit Union, maybe even talk to you directly to find out what their options are for refinancing or for a new home loan, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah. Phone number is area code 217-726-2101, extension 236. Our website is hcu.org. But the best way is, just calling.
John, thank you so much for taking time with us here and telling us about Heartland Credit Union and about things with interest rates that may make people, their eyes gloss over a bit, but it really is important when it comes down to how much control they have over their mortgage. John Fiddler, Assistant Vice President for Mortgage Lending with Heartland Credit Union. Thanks so much for taking time on the WMAY Morning News Feed.
Thank you, Greg, for having me. It's been a pleasure.